Welcome, everyone. Today is session 7 of CareerForce and More for Employers. I'm Liz Jennings, Employer Engagement Specialist. I'm so happy to have all of you here. This series, CareerForce and More, is intended to give you small bits of information of resources in the CareerForceMN.com system and resources amongst all of our staff and partners throughout the state. We've had a number of really great sessions over the past 7 weeks, including an overview, top 5 pages, job fairs, veterans, workforce strategy consultant team, justice involved hiring, federal bonding, and more. So all of the recordings are available on YouTube, on CareerForce MN's YouTube site in a playlist. So I encourage you to spread the word to others. Today, we're going to be going through all of the other programs that either CareerForce partners run or they're housed, the information is housed on CareerForce MN. So I've got a series of slides all about all of these programs. And then if we have time, I'll jump over to the actual website and we can go through the website too, so you can actually see where they are. But the first program I want to mention, just to make sure all of you know, and this may be something if you're not in HR, if you're a recruiter, send it to your HR department. But there is a program called Retain Minnesota, and it helps employers and employees hang on to each other um, throughout an injury that an employee may have sustained. And it doesn't even have to be a work-based injury, as far as I'm aware. But there was a story, a success story that we had shared with another group where a person had injured themselves and could not lift packages. He was in a warehouse environment. And so the Retain program helped with training costs. It helped with various support systems while the employee healed, and then made a path with the employer to get back to work. And so rather than that man in the success story I'm mentioning, he didn't have to go out, he wasn't fired from his job and then have to find a whole different organization after he healed. The partnership helped the two stay together, and then basically he retained his job and the employer retained the employee, and then when he was able, he went back to work. So please go to careerforcemn.com/retain to learn more about that. And there's certainly a lot more to it than I am giving you the brief overview. I just put it in the chat. Another function that all of our CareerForce offices and partners across the state do is engage in on-the-job training partnerships with employers. And usually this is run through a TAA department. I was just in a meeting yesterday where one man, from DEET was talking about it. He's within the TAA department. And this is where actually after I go through these slides, we're going to jump over to the website because it really makes a lot more sense if we just look on the page. So for right now, though, I will put that in there. In the family of training resources, there are links to information about grants that are offered through DEED's Employment and Training Program Department, ETP. There are links to apprenticeships, and usually Minnesota Department of Labor, in partnership with DEED, administers the apprenticeships. But there's more information with that, and I can get you involved in the team if you're interested in going in that direction. There's information about internships, especially for young people. There's information about on-the-job training programs, and you can find training providers. You probably wouldn't take the training, But this especially is helpful for job seekers who are finding training and trying to, reinvent themselves in a different career. Here's the TAA. Um, Typically, TAA gets involved when it's called, I'm sorry, trade adjustment assistance. Unfortunately, when there's a layoff at a company and the layoff is due to foreign competition, in the case of companies setting up a shop in a different company across the world, the people here in Minnesota are laid off and there's paperwork. There's a system of verifying that this is what it's due to foreign competition. But if that is really the case and everything has gone through positively, the labor force that is laid off is eligible for TAA adjustment programs, assistance programs. And that means in their unemployment, I believe they get just a little bit more training dollars to help them retrain and get back working. So um, this, unfortunately, you probably really only use if your company is laying off, um, for any reason. And in that respect, then we always uh, encourage you to get involved with our rapid response team. Um, but it's one of those negative occurrences in life that it's always worth being aware of when the need should arise. So uh, we'll talk more, and you can always reach out to me if you just want to be aware of this information. Youth resources, too. Um, Youth, by definition, is anywhere from 16 and sometimes 15 or 14, all the way up to age 24. So many of the programs, whenever any of us talk about youth services, you might think, oh, they have to be at least 18. Yes, youth can encompass people who are 18 or 19, 20, 21, who are struggling. They're not in school. Maybe they don't have a great family support system. Um, they're not working. They're at risk for falling even farther behind. And so there are a lot of youth services in almost every single CareerForce location that help people, within this age group. So within our youth services resources on CareerForce MN, they're under, you go to for employers on the left-hand side, go to tailored resources, and then go to youth resources. And there's information about managing teens, uh, links to finding teen employees or giving you tips on where to go. There is even a PDF, a downloadable PDF on an employer toolkit for youth jobs and internships. And I think that's a fantastic resource. In another career I had, I was a director of internships for a very small college. And so understand what employers are looking for and what kids are looking for when they're in that 18, 19, 20 range. So the the employer toolkit for youth jobs is really fantastic, addressing all of those. Here's another link. This one we can find on our virtual and interactive services page. It's not a CareerForce program, it's a federal program, but it's really, really helpful in accessibility technology. And whenever any of us hire a new worker who maybe they have low vision and they just need some magnifying screens on their computer, or they want to turn on a voice enable, or so many more. I don't work in this department, um, but I know that there are so many low cost accessibility functions that could really help a person who needs it and a person who just may benefit from it. Um, so PEAT is, and I didn't write down what they stand for, but I think it's like Employee Accessibility Technology. Anyway, it's a fantastic website, and we've got the link to it from our virtual interactive services for employers. I don't know if I mentioned this in other sessions too. We've got some good resources for diversity. And again, left-hand column, go to for employers, attract talent, and plan for diversity. And we've got a PDF. Again, it's a downloadable diversity, equity, and inclusion guide. And then we have resources on hidden biases in the workplace that our workforce strategy consultant team. So I encourage you to take a look at those, and you could consider using them even as a source of staff development. Perhaps you're having a staff development team meeting. You know, you can use it there, whatever the case may be, but they're available to you. This is what the employer guide looks like, the heading on the page. So I put it in there so you get to the right page, and I guess it's 12 pages of guided questions, all to help you think through the next steps. And many of our staff and our partners in locations all across are getting involved in a program called, well, for short, IWE, but Inclusive Workplace. It started in the Northwest region, Region 1 of Minnesota, and it's been expanding into, excuse me, the central Minnesota region and a couple of others. It's being led by the workforce strategy consultants. So if you are considering figuring out how to become a more inclusive workplace, let me know. You can send an email to me and I can get you in touch with the workforce strategy consultant in your area that is spearheading those conversations. More on understanding inequities that it can even, you know, we always think of race, it can also go by disability status. So we've got a couple of links again about what we all need to do to welcome all Minnesotans in our workplaces and create just a welcoming, well-run, productive, and employee workplace that all your employees just stay around and don't leave. You know, that you retain your employees. And this is the training program finder that I mentioned. It's brand new. It just was launched about 2 weeks ago. Really, it really is intended for job seekers. Every single one of our staff and partners and many other organizations across the state receive either state funding, federal funding, appropriation dollars, and these programs then provide free training to Minnesotans. So we're just in the process of uploading more and more programs into this. But from the employer standpoint, say you are in a healthcare career or a healthcare facility and you see that there is a medical call center, a training center starting, perhaps you can reach out to that training provider and say, you know, either A, you want to volunteer, you want to get involved somehow, or even you just want to provide flyers to the students who graduate from the next cohort. So that's one way how you can use it. And also, if you have an employee or a potential job seeker who may be a good fit, but maybe you feel that they need a little bit more training right now, well, perhaps you can enroll them in the OSHA 30 program that's starting on this next Monday and say, hey, we'll pay you maybe 50% wages while you attend this, and you know, and then in 2 weeks or whenever it's done, you can jump right into the job at a rate of whatever. So that's one way of using it with some flexibility, recognizing that all of your employees need training at some point, and job seekers can come to you with skills. Want to make sure that you all have access to this. I love this document. It's just a one-page PDF. What employers can do now, again, our workforce strategy consultant team, the team that writes up a lot of our documents, put together. And it's just a really good reminder of those basics that we we all can do when reaching out and trying to hire new staff. You know, childcare and transportation is a barrier that we always hear about. You know, are there ways that you can organize a carpool within your company, or you know, even informally, if you know that one person comes from a certain part of the city, well, say, hey, could someone else ride with you? You know, um, address those last mile barriers. What's meant by that is that oftentimes here, at least in the Twin Cities or in the suburbs, where there is a bus route to a certain spot, but your facility is 1 mile away. Well, does that employee walk the last mile from that bus route? Or is there some sort of staff pickup? You know, like a route that you can guarantee that employee, yeah, you'll pick them up, or, you know, whatever else. There's so many other creative ways. If you have questions like this, again, this is what our workforce strategy consultants do. They're great to talk with you. But anyway, this document is found under the even more resources, and I'll get that out to you. In the meantime, please put your questions right now in the chat and let's talk about them, and we can go over to the CareerForce MN page. I do want to point out that you may have seen this little orange button on the bottom. It's our little chat bot. I'm kind of growing affectionate towards it. It's really pretty helpful. It does not connect you directly to a real person on the other end. It's only like an interactive table of contents. So you click on it, it opens up, it asks if you are a job seeker or an employer. If you say employer, then it says, okay, what kind of questions do you have? And then it gives you like multiple choice. You click on one that best fits, and then it gives you more multiple choice. And then at a certain point, it says, okay, let me lead you to the web page that answers that question. So it really is helpful in a table of contents system, and you don't have to worry that you will have to speak to anyone if you don't want to speak to anyone. And if you do, you can always call our CareerForce Information Assistance line at 651 259 7500. That's the number. Um, it's a team of 3. They're fantastic. They answer questions on everything, including Minnesota Works, CareerForce, any of these programs that I mentioned just in the past 10 minutes, TAA, diversity, training resources, youth services. They answer questions from job seekers. They connect people to local areas. Um, they can help you unlock your passwords if your passwords from either minnesotaworks.net or CareerForce MN are locked. They have information on job fairs. They can connect you with me. Um, it everything. So they're really, really good, and I really encourage you to use that information line. So other questions? We've got about 5 minutes left. Is there anything? And we have a small enough crowd that if you want to unmute yourself, you certainly can. Okay. I'm going to pull up the CareerForce site and just pull that up and share that. I do want to point out many people have been using, yay, the Attend a Career Fair um, calendar. I have it bookmarked. You might be organizing your own job fair or drop-in interviews or some other event. Um, and so I want to encourage everyone to continue using this. It really is helpful, and job seekers and career counselors use it. But some of the questions are, what makes a good listing? So I'm going to pull out one of our CareerForce sponsored events. Try and make this. Okay, so hopefully you all can see this. When you click on employers, fill out this form on the main page, it opens up with a form to fill in. And I'll go back to that in just a second and show you the finished product. Once you fill out everything, this is what it looks like. There's always the title on the top with the date next to it. The static monthly date is there. And then this whole body in the middle of the posting is yours, where you can, in the description, put in as much information. And I really, even though the title is always on the top, I think it's okay to retype the title in the body of the description when you're filling the form out. Make sure you have information on where to go, what building, if you have a multi-building campus, where to park, who to ask for when they get to the front desk, to bring a mask or not bring a mask, um, what documents should they bring? Should they bring their driver's license? Hopefully, if they're driving there, they'll have that. But other state ID so that they could fill out um, the paperwork to have fill out on-site hiring paperwork. Um, and then always include a telephone number. If they need assistance, please call. And this might be just the operator or receptionist in your company. I do think it's always worth putting the address. This was a virtual, so it doesn't have the address there. But I always think it's worth having the address one more time um, because it's, a person might print it or they might just copy the body of the information and put it on their phone. Um, so more information than less is always better. So when you fill out this form, it said employers fill out this form. This is what it goes to. It says career fair submission form, your name and telephone number. That's only used if I need to contact you for more information. The event title, your location. Please include your city and your zip code simply for someone's GPS. If they're trying to find a map on their phone, they really need that city and zip. The start date, how long it repeats, uh, location, Greater Minnesota Metro or online. The event audience for job seekers and for veterans. Um, it's just worth clicking both of them. Link to flyer and registration link. So whatever you have, if you have a website that has the information on, some people have it on LinkedIn as a LinkedIn event or an Indeed event, you can put that into the flyer. And if you do want them to register in advance, you can have that filled out too, but it's not required. Your event would not be a CareerForce sponsored event. That's only for those of us in the offices. And then again, your website, if you have it on a website, again, it's not required, so you could leave it off. And then this is the description field. You can expand it by pulling on these two things and then filling it out. I don't think there's a limit on the number of characters. So more who, what, where, why, how, when, get that information and then press next. Well, it's not going to do it because I haven't filled anything out, and then submit. So there's always a next and a submit. So that's it for us. I'm so glad to have had that chance. please contact me anytime. I'm so happy to hear from you and hear how it's going. And if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see next, I'm willing to talk. So thanks for coming, everyone.